Things are not looking good for Lando Norris. After the 2025 Dutch Grand Prix, he is 34 points behind Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, with 9 races to go. And he has to win around 7 of those 9 races to win the 2025 world title, provided I'm obviously assuming Oscar Piastri comes second in each of those 7 out of 9 races in which Lando Norris wins. The last 2 Oscar Piastri can win, Lando P2. He will still win the world title, but he needs to win 7 out of 9 races, cover the 34 points deficit in order to win the 2025 Formula One World Championship. And it's not going to happen. It doesn't look like it's going to happen because last year, before the United States Grand Prix, Austin, COTA, before that race, Lando Norris was trailing behind Max Verstappen by 47 points. And at the end of the season, that gap increased to 63 points. Similar trends can be observed in 2025 Formula One season as well. Because after the first race in Australia, Lando was leading the 2025 championship standings by 23 points. And right now, some Aikido happened, courtesy to the Australian. Big shout out to Oscar Piastri for doing what he did. And now Lando Norris is 34 points behind Oscar Piastri. At this stage of the World Championship, where there are very less number of races left, he doesn't have a clear car advantage as last year, because last year, let's be honest, Verstappen didn't have that good of a car for the majority of the season, even though he had a head start. But right now in 2025, Lando doesn't even have that privilege. His rival in the World Championship is Oscar Piastri, driving the same car, and he is making zero mistake. A guy 4 years his junior is gonna win the world title before him. That's gonna happen. And a lot of the Lando Norris fangirls are gonna disagree, and they're gonna point at the recent DNF in the 2025 Dutch Grand Prix and say that, well, things are not that bad, that can happen to Oscar, there are still 9 races left, anything can happen. Yes, from a mathematical point of view, yes, anything can happen, but it won't. And Lando Norris is not doing a good enough job, as the fangirls of Lando might believe. Because again, you don't go from a 23-point lead to a 34-point deficit overnight. Yes, the DNF contributed. Even without the DNF, he would be 14 points behind Oscar Piastri, and that's still bad. Manageable, not as bad as 34 points behind, but still kind of not good. 14 points or 16 points, whatever it is, if Lando would have come P2. The reason why I'm saying that Lando hasn't been performing on the level of Oscar is if you look at their battles, there haven't been that many battles between Piastri and Lando, but there have been some moments in which Oscar Piastri is chasing Lando Norris for the lead, and there have been some moments in which Lando Norris is chasing Oscar Piastri for the win, right? We have these two situations to compare. So for example, if you look at the 2025 Austrian Grand Prix around the Red Bull Ring, Piastri was chasing Lando for the win. Similarly, if you flip the script a little bit and you go to the Belgian Grand Prix 2025 around Spa-Francorchamps, that was the moment in which Lando was chasing Piastri for the win. Right, there have been some moments here and there. Then in Hungaroring, Oscar Piastri was chasing Lando for the win, right? And in these battles, in this situation, for the majority, for some part, not the majority part, for some part of the Silverstone Grand Prix, Lando was chasing Oscar Piastri. In the Dutch Grand Prix, we have seen there were many instances, especially after the safety cars, where Lando was basically right behind Oscar Piastri and he was chasing Oscar Piastri for the win. And if you compare them, compare the approach of Oscar Piastri when he is attacking Lando versus the way Lando approaches things when he is attacking Oscar, it's vastly different. Oscar Piastri sends the car in certain corners to make the overtake count. He does that. He has locked up in Austria once. He has locked up in Hungaroring once. Obviously, both of his attempts to make the overtake on Lando did not work. But you can see it. You can see and sense that when he attacks Lando, he does it with conviction. Lando, on the other hand, he likes to remain safe. I mean, like whatever it is, he is not sending the car. He's not going to that zone. You know what I mean? Like there's always a limit over the limit. Oscar Piastri is not afraid to go there when fighting with Lando Norris for the wins. Whether he's successful or not, that's a separate thing, but he is not afraid to go there. Lando, on the other hand, I don't think he does. Because I remember the Belgian Grand Prix, I remember the Dutch Grand Prix. There were, like forget the Belgian Grand Prix right now because that was before the summer vacation. Let's look at the Dutch Grand Prix, which happened a few days ago. Lando have been given multiple opportunity by the safety car gods to go and make an impact on Oscar Piastri, and he failed every single time. Every single time. Do you think someone like Max Verstappen, when he's given a good enough competitive car and he is given so many safety car restart, the guy ahead will be shitting bricks? That's what's gonna happen. But with Lando, you can catch him napping. Multiple safety car restarts, he never even got into the DRS of Oscar Piastri. And yeah, obviously the excuses will come along. It's difficult to follow, this and that. I mean, it's all of those things are meaningless because there have been many instances and many areas of the track where it is difficult to follow, especially when in Spa, for example, in the sprint race in Spa, Max Verstappen overtook Oscar Piastri and Oscar Piastri stayed in the DRS of Max Verstappen. Comfortably. Not comfortably, I don't know. But he stayed there and it's very difficult. The twisty and bendy sections in Spa, it's actually more difficult to stay closer. And Oscar managed to do that for 20 fucking laps in the DRS of Max Verstappen of all people around Spa. The Red Bull was quick in that session. So we have seen this before. So Lando Norris couldn't even make an impact. He couldn't even make Oscar think twice. I thought that, you know what Lando is going to do? He's going to push properly. He's going to manage his tires more effectively than Oscar. And then he will be able to mount some pressure in the Dutch Grand Prix. But that never happened. That really never happened. Oscar, when he is in the lead, he's never worried that, oh, this guy is going to put in some kind of miraculous amount of lap times, or he's going to save some life in his tire, which is going to give him a strategy upset towards the end of the race, and then he's going to get me. Oscar Piastri is never under any kind of stress when Lando Norris is behind. So to all of the Lando Norris fangirls who believe that Lando has been doing a good enough job, it's just that it's a closely contested title fight and blah, 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 and also attributing to the recent DNF, that's why Lando is so far behind, 34 points deficit. That's not true. Lando has been doing a shit job. The mistake in Canada, let's talk about it. Going for a move where there is no gap on a straight doesn't get more shameful than this. If you want to win championships, championship level drivers don't make that type of mistakes. Yes, they go off here and there, they get beached, they get off-road, they lose the car, they initiate contact or whatever it is. That's all understandable, but on a straight, that's a monumental mistake. 7 years in Formula 1 and you do that, and right now your teammate 3 years younger than you beating the shit out of you. In the remaining 9 races of the 2025 Formula One season, yes, it is mathematically possible that Lando can win the world title, but as I mentioned, he needs to win 5 races back to back while Oscar Piastri comes second just to eat away his 34-point lead and just gain the lead in the World Championship. Because every race win when your rival finishes P2 gives you a 7-point advantage. So after 5 wins over Oscar Piastri, and he's not going to do that. If you look at, because for example, in this entire season, there has not been a dominant string of races for Lando Norris as it has been for Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri had a hat trick. Lando, as far as my memory serves, does not. And even in the biggest hope for Lando was Zandvoort, because Zandvoort started poorly for Oscar Piastri. Lando had an advantage at the beginning of the weekend. He lost that advantage as the weekend went further and further. Piastri was able to read and learn more from himself, from the car, from the track, and from Lando's data to close that gap. And Lando failed to stretch that advantage further. As the weekend went on, he couldn't find more time. That's the thing. That's something that these Lando Norris fangirls don't pay attention to. The progress of a driver through the weekend. Lando stayed where he was. Yes, he gained a, half a tenth here and there, but whatever it is. But he majorly stayed there. He didn't extend his advantage. Lando did extend his advantage in Austria. I don't think Oscar Piastri had a chance of, beating Lando Norris to pole position, even if he did his final Q3 run in Austria. Austria is a good example of Lando improving through the weekend. That didn't happen in Zandvoort. Now the upcoming race in Monza, and I don't think Lando is winning this one. Because, again, 2024 Italian Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc won that one, but Oscar Piastri was a motherfucker to deal with. His overtake on Lando through the chicane is something of a very perfect overtake. And he's going to be strong again in Monza. One other thing that you guys need to remember about Oscar Piastri is that he is good at these driver's tracks. Zandvoort, for example, is a great example. The 2025 Dutch Grand Prix is a very good example of Oscar Piastri dominating in driver circuits, as we call them. Because Zandvoort is supposed to be a Lando Norris track because he had pole here last year and he was dominant in the race last year and he won by 20-something seconds. Oscar Piastri did not have a good time here at all last year. So this was supposed to be a Lando Norris track, but because it's a driver's circuit, and the thing about driver's circuit is that it gives the freedom to drivers to find their own racing line based on their car's strengths and weaknesses. That's what makes them unique. So because it's a driver's circuit, Oscar Piastri found his advantage in Q3 in Zandvoort and, converted that into a victory. And he's going to do the same fucking thing in Monza again. Last year he was good in Monza. The only reason why he didn't win in Monza is because he was on a 2-stop strategy compared to Leclerc's 1-stop. And the 1-stop was in a race distance much faster one compared to a 2-stop. Because if you're on a 2-stop, you have to clear traffic and all that type of stuff. If it's an empty track, 2-stop is faster, but during the race situation, the 2-stop is always slower because you have to clear a bunch of traffic, you have to go to the pits again, there's a risk and all that type of stuff, blah, blah, blah. The point that I'm trying to make is Oscar Piastri is going to be strong again in Monza because in Zandvoort last year he was bad and this year he dominated. Not dominated, but definitely edged out Lando, who was supposed to be good or dominant in this track. Last year in Monza, Oscar Piastri smoked Lando Norris, and this year he's going to finish the job by securing the victory. So it seems like Lando is not going to win again 2025 Formula One World Championship. He's not going to win the World Championship again. And congratulations to Oscar Piastri for winning the world title. And I said something along these lines last year. Last year, when Lando was the title contender against Max Verstappen, there was an interview of Andrea Stella. And Andrea Stella said something along the lines of, me and Lando, we're just enjoying the process and we're just seeing what happens, and this is new for us, fighting for the world title and whatnot. So we're just enjoying the process of fighting for a world title. And this was, I think, around definitely 7 races remaining, right? Around that period of time. 7 races or like 5 races remaining, around that point. And when I read that statement from Andrea Stella in relation to Lando Norris title aspirations in 2024, it pissed me the fuck off. Because you never know when that moment will come again. You never know when you are the number 1 title contender for the team. And that was true in 2024. In the 2024 Formula 1 season, McLaren was ready to sacrifice some of Oscar Piastri's races and positions to give Lando the advantage so that he can mount a stronger campaign to the 2025 Drivers' Champions Trophy. And that's why I was very mad, because you never know when that opportunity will come again. And it won't ever come again for Lando Norris, because now Oscar Piastri is improved. Whenever the team is prioritizing you and is ready to use any resource at their disposal to propel you to the title, you have to take it, you have to maximize it, you have to convert it. Lando failed to do that in 2024. And this year, on a fair playing field, he was going to fail. That's all I'm going to say. If you look at Lando Norris's highlight reel and Oscar Piastri's highlight reel, who has cooler overtakes? Who shows more bravery and commitment while making a move? Who psychologically breaks down his opponent first while making an overtaking move? It's Oscar Piastri. And on a level playing field with Oscar's increasing experience and wisdom and stuff like that, and raw speed and emotional control and maturity, there is no way Lando is going to win in 2025. This is my verdict, but anything can happen. We have to throw that in towards the end because this is motorsports, right? But yeah, to put it shortly, Lando Norris did blow his shot at title in the 2025 Formula 1 season. He needs to be less emotional, is all I'm going to say. You need to go with everything that you have got. Stop being emotional. Stop sharing all of your emotions in front of the media. Obviously, everybody is going to pat you on the back and cheer you up. But that's not how it goes. And another thing that Lando did wrong, I mean, I'll make a longer breakdown of all of this when everything is said and done. And the big mistake that Lando did is that he did not visualize it. At the beginning of the season, there was an interview of both of the McLaren drivers with Lawrence Barretto. And Lando said that I need to first achieve and then believe. He did not see himself as a race winner until he won a race. He did not see himself as a pole sitter or a driver who can get pole positions until he had that. That might sound humbling and good and all that type of stuff, but when it comes to winning world championships, you have to see yourself and visualize yourself as a world champion. You need to do that. And Oscar, I think in the same interview or whatever, he said that I believe I can win the world championship this season. He literally said that statement. And his performance reflects that. So yeah, congratulations to Oscar Piastri. Lando is now going to close the gap of 34 points in the next 9 races because he has to win 5 races to, just negate that 34 points of gap with Oscar Piastri. And then he has to win 2 more. 7 out of 9 races wins for Lando Norris is needed for him to become the world champion in 2025. If nothing crazy happens. But obviously this is motorsport, so crazy can happen both ways. It is what it is. So Lando Norris blew up his title aspirations in 2025, and I hope in 2026 he can again do it. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.